everybody. Thank you all so much for coming to the Trains of Lark Lionel Catalog Review 2024. I am Larkin, and with me here, I've got from the Swindale Steamworks here, I've got Adam. Adam, thank you so much for coming on here, and I hope that you are excited as much as I am.
Oh, heck yes. Let's see what financial hurt I'm going to get myself into.
All right, here. So I've got YouTube on, so I'm just finishing trying to get this set up for the Instagram. So bear with me here just a second. I apologize for the technical difficulties. This is something that kind of happens when you're learning.
Yeah, that's a part of it.
Stand by for technical difficulties. We'll be right back after commercial.
Yes, there we go. There we go. Now I finally got it figured out. So I apologize for the technical difficulties for everyone that's in. So I thank you guys so much for being patient with me. But let me finish this up here. We're going to get our Instagram team on, and then we will be ready to go. So let me release Trains of Lark. All right, so we are officially live on Instagram too. So let's go ahead here and we will get started. So once again, thank you everybody for coming to the Trains of Lark and Friends 2024 Lionel catalog of the big box #1. I don't know about you guys, but I am absolutely excited as much as everyone is. It's time for that wonderful orange box goodness. And so if everyone's ready, I'm ready to get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do this.
All right, here. So let me make sure. All right, here. So let me make sure. Hold on here.
That should be a key indicator of what's to come.
You better believe it.
Hold on here. You are live. Hold on here a second. I'm having a technical difficulty.
Should have done a dry run, I suppose. Is my audio coming through?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah. Hang on here.
It's funny, before you showed up, me and Lark, and we were I think we came in like about 15 minutes early trying to see if everything was going to sync up and everything. We had no problems at all. Now that we actually got started, everything is coming in at an onslaught.
Yeah, that sounds about like the usual issues with tech.
Yes. Everything goes right until everything is going right when it doesn't need to.
All right, we're live.
Alrighty.
All right, here. So without further delays, let's go ahead and let's get this started here. All right, here. So we are going to bypass the triplex here simply because it's something that we've already discussed. Although I will say too, I really do like what Lionel has done in terms of transforming the MTH model into the Vision line. So I really like that.
Yeah, they're certainly doing more with it. I'd say probably I will say, like, yeah, there's a lot of these cool features, and I'm not discouraging anyone from getting them. But at the same time, the only thing that concerns me is, with a lot of these new features could also introduce potential points of failure. But that aside, one thing that I really do like that Lionel is incorporating to the triplex is the wheel slip feature for the third set of drivers, because that's that was one of the things that the triplexes were known for, and the fact that Lionel is replicating that on the triplex, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, agreed. This is a good engine for being Vision lines, so it's nice to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, now let's get to the meat and the bones here. So the Berkshires. So I gotta say, it's absolutely wonderful to see the Berkshires back, something that we haven't seen in a while. But the first thing that immediately comes to my mind, and some of you guys probably already know where I'm going to go with this, is how about the fact that the GT&I Berkshire looks more Père Marquette 1225 than Père Marquette 1225 does?
It does. Although I'm willing to bet it might also be just the fact you're looking at a true render versus what I think was an actual photograph of one of the prototypes when these Berks first came out. Because I recognize those poses like that. Those look like the actual models that they photographed when they were still photographing the models.
So I've never been the big Berkshire fan, like others have. Like, you know, it's another steam engine. So do I love it? Yeah, of course. I love all steam engines. But that said, this is not one that I have paid as much attention to as others. So for me, like, I'm glad to see this is back. I know people have been clamoring for it. If you get into rivet counting and details on them, I'm just gonna go, I don't know.
Yeah.
I do like how they're actually doing C&O 2765. Like, I don't even think MTH did that. I think Lionel is the first one to do 765 when she masqueraded as a C&O Kanawha.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. Now, this one was one that was a pleasant surprise, and worldwide rail fan, is it?
You can just go with Derek.
But I'll tell you one thing. I remember the moment I heard that these were going to be on there, I immediately thought of my buddy Gold over at Gold Standard, because I know that this is like the one engine that he was like, I would love to see this back again. Although he joked around like, hey, I'd love to see this Vision line. But overall, I mean, I'm real happy to see these back. Is it my cup of tea? Not really, but it is nice at least see some different articulators besides Class A's, Big Boys, and Challengers.
What I really like about sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm glad to see the H7s back, but what really pleases me is how they're doing more variations of the H7. Like, we got 4 variations of the C&O. We got one, I think the top one, 1572. If I'm not mistaken, that was the original scheme. Then they went to the full Chesapeake and Ohio on the tender, and then right below that we have a variation of the Vanderbilt style. Then we have the traditional coal tenders, which would have been the style that I think the Union Pacific wound up using when they got some of the C&O H7s.
Yeah. By the way, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Actually, as we were discussing this, Gold Standard Trains was messaging, at least on my YouTube live, says yes, it is. So, I know he was real excited about that. And by the way, for those that are on Instagram and Facebook here, I wish you guys joining in, and I see you there, Chris Trains and More on Instagram. And all right, here, and go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the H7s are great. It's nice to see some of the lesser known articulated steam up in this catalog. I hope we can continue to get more of the lesser known articulated steam, whether it's new tooling or reruns of stuff they've already made that just hasn't been reproduced. I'm really hoping in the next few years here we get a rerun of the I think it was the first Vision line. It was the what was it, the 066 or 088?
The Pennsylvania CC2. Yeah.
Right. I'd love to see that get a rerun in the next few years here. These other articulated steamers are a ton of fun to see and run.
Well, speaking of some reruns here, we got some 10-wheeler classics back for the first time in a couple of years. So
I've seen these in a minute.
Yeah. So I gotta say, I feel like as if that there's a little more detail and a little more effort in these models this time around than there were the ones that were released a couple of years ago. I mean, I really like the Jersey Central one. The New York Central and Hudson River one was a nice surprise. You don't see at least one of the New York Central precursors in there.
Yeah. One thing that immediately, one of the things I noticed immediately when I first saw these is, I remember previous years, like when this tooling was last run, I think all but one had centered headlights, and that was just the common version. Here we're actually getting a more healthy mix of some have centered headlights, some have raised headlights. So we're getting more variations of not even just road names, but just details.
Well, and I think that's, the greater attention to detail is a great thing, because one of the things that people are continuously mentioning and complaining about, and understandably, is that the cost has gone up, right? So, and obviously part of that is like Bluetooth and these new features that have been added, right? Bluetooth, there's a license fee and an extra chip that goes in. It's not free.
No.
But the attention to these other details, especially because the community is going more towards realism in general, at least like from a size and standard perspective.
Absolutely.
It's great to see that.
Yeah, someone actually on Instagram said, I mean, it might would be because they did make the Polar Express with that paint, but to me it looks like they combined Polar Express with the Blue Comet. Oh, they're going back to the upcoming Polar Express, which we will get to here momentarily. But I know I've got a train buddy was absolutely ecstatic to see the news of the Western Pacific 10-wheeler. My buddy Cody at Wipeout Trains, I know, really was looking forward to seeing that one. Speaking of one that I think really was a nice surprise was let me see if I can get it pulled up here. The Royal Blue line. I initially saw at least on the previews, at least from when some of the earlier stuff was mentioned, but I didn't realize it too that this was actually a little more accurate. And my buddy Retro Mikado actually mentioned to me that a lot of the detail on this is much more correct. So that was nice to see.
This is definitely a gorgeous set.
This is actually one of those. Even though it's an engine and 3 different 2-packs, it's still treated as a set. This is one of those sets that I am excited to see when it comes out, and because I know there's gonna be multiple people that they're gonna get everything on these 2 pages, put it together as a set. Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
Well, and it's nice because it'll look good on like a smaller layout, right?
Oh, absolutely. Now, if only the passenger cars were about 20% cheaper.
Yeah, I'm a little perplexed on like the passenger car cost, not just here but throughout the catalog. I mean, look, I have some Golden Gate Depot passenger cars, right? So like maybe I don't have a leg to stand on, but even still, like with Golden Gate Depot, like you're getting extremely accurate detail and realism. That like that's the deal, right?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of things that are coming back, I mean, probably the biggest surprise return was to see the Hiawathas, something we haven't seen since Legacy first came out.
Yeah,
actually, it's been since 2004 or 2006. Sorry, the last time they ran this.
Yeah, then I remember this was I think one of the last few TMCC pieces that they did before they then made the transition into Legacy. I'm curious. The only thing that that irks me, and I'll be honest with you, the only thing that irks me is the fact that it actually has a smoking whistle. Because if my memory serves me right, the Milwaukee Road Class A's did not carry a steam whistle. They actually carried simply an air horn, which was a Leslie A125. So the fact that they're still doing it with the steam whistle, it's like,
yeah.
Well, the one thing I'll say to that is, and I don't know either way, right? Is you can at least turn off the steam whistle, right? And they do have the different horn options. So hopefully we get that air horn sound, right? That would be great.
if they do have the horn option, then I'd say if that is included, then Lionel has in fact redeemed themselves on that. But if they don't have the diesel horn, it's like, okay, missed opportunity here to really make the set or make the engine truly accurate to the prototype.
Well, and speaking of something else that's return, how about the fact that we've got some aluminum passenger cars again, and especially they brought back the iconic Milwaukee Road observation car.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Train Railfan 2010 said it best. I don't like the air horns on steam locomotive, but if they are able to have both the whistle and the air horn for this, then that's perfectly fine, and I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah. I certainly can't argue with that.
Yeah. What's nice about this and shocking, I think, and interesting, and forgive the background noise, is the engine is only 1,200, and you know, people might be like, oh, you know, I know that the complaints about cost, but the engine when it came out in 2006 was 1099. So this engine has gone up 100, and it's being Bluetooth, whistle steam, all these other legacy, and you know, inflation as well, right? Over 14 or 18 years. And look at where we're at. The passenger cars, and you know, I'm not going to harp too much about price in the catalog because it's so common to come up. But the 4-pack last time was $579. Now that said, the 4-pack last time didn't have the. I think this 4-pack has the rail sounds, right, and all of that, and some updates to them. So
and you notice where the station sounds are. They're not in the diner. They're in the observation car.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's a real nice surprise.
Yeah, I'd say the passenger cars went up, but the engine really, like, I think it's a steal. The engines are a steal considering everything.
Yeah, it only went up $100, and you're getting so many new features, better features. If I'm honest, it's like, yeah, that's a slam dunk deal for the engine. The cars are a little bit of a different story, but you know, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. And then here's the fancy paint schemes. Yeah, I'll tell you what. When I first saw that the Seaboard was going to have a fancy paint scheme in the Hiawatha engine, I thought it wasn't going to turn out really good, but it didn't turn out quite as bad as I thought. Although Adam made a good point earlier today that, you know, that looks more of a black than a green because the Orange Blossom Special, which this is what it appears to be going after, had more of a green than a black.
Yeah, now it should be said, especially for some of the prior listings, is you can obviously tell these are 3D renders, and the 3D renders, they're not going to look absolutely right. In the last catalog, we had evidence of this with the Dreyfus Hudsons, how the traditional Dreyfus Hudsons, actually the renders had the correct colors, while the fantasy had the darker colors. But then the actual product, the traditional Dreyfus Hudsons, the gray was way too light and didn't even match with the cars that they were marketed to go with. But the fantasy Dreyfus, it actually had the correct color it had the color that was meant for the traditional Dreyfuses. So with that said, if we're going by the render, that green is way too dark, and from my computer screen, it does almost look black. So it should be.
I mean, maybe the yellow and the orange is the right yellow and orange.
Yeah, the yellow and the orange does, to the quick glance, the yellow and the orange does look correct, or at least close enough to call it good. But the green's like, that's going by the render. The green, that's not the correct shade. And my thoughts on this, because anyone who knows me knows that I am an avid Seaboard fan. I have mixed feelings about this. You know, this is sort of close to the Class P 462s that Seaboard had that were streamlined, but it's like, this doesn't, I don't know. This doesn't sit too well with me, because like it's obviously the Class A 442, but it is but then again, it is a fantasy. What if Seaboard did roster 442s that were of a similar design of the Class A? This is probably what they would look like. Now, on the other side of the coin, looking at the cars, yes, I do approve of the cars because I could get the cars and then turn right around and get the Seaboard E8s that Lionel produced a few years ago. Boom. You got yourself an all matching set.
Yeah. Yeah. Gold Standard just mentioned in the comments, assume with Lionel, they'll come out lighter than the catalog. Which,
Yep. Don't always assume that what you see in the catalog is truly what it's going to look like in real life. Assume it's going to turn out different, whether it could be slightly different or it could be vastly different.
Unless it's black or the hot dog scheme.
Well, or as I call it, the obligatory hot dog paint scheme that Lionel does.
I'd say it turned out better on this than it did the Challenger.
Yeah, it looks more appropriate for this particular model because it does have that 49er resemblance. Whereas with the Joy 4s, it felt like, hey, we're gonna put the hot dog scheme on it because we know fancy schemes are awesome here.
Yeah, I actually don't mind this getting the 49er scheme because, as you mentioned, it has that. It's because it's streamlined, and the 49er 462s and the 42s were themselves streamlined. It's like, okay, the application makes a bit more sense in this case, but I can't say the same thing about the FEF3 and the early Challenger. Like, no, I'm sorry, folks, but that shouldn't have happened.
But I'll be honest with you, I actually like this paint scheme on this one. I actually think it actually goes well with it. I know some people aren't necessarily fantasy fans, but this one I think they got right. So
for me, it's on the concept of the fantasy schemes. It is for me is purely a case by case scenario in terms of what locomotive you're doing it on and which particular scheme you're using.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the 49er, I think the cars look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the cars. In fact, I think if my memory serves me right, I think MTH did a 49er 462, and I'm sure they did cars. But on the off chance they didn't, you could get those cars. You got yourself a matching set.
Yeah, exactly. I'll say this: I'll bet you dollars to donuts we get a black bonnet of that set of the 442. From Past Trains. Yeah, if we don't have a black bonnet of this set, I'll be shocked. Like absolutely shocked.
Yeah. Well, and here's some some GP9s.
I dig the N&W 500. I have always liked the N&W red scheme.
Mm-hmm.
But Minneapolis also looks pretty good.
Yeah. So for my Pennsylvania fans here, which one's the one that's at Horseshoe Curve? What number is the one on display?
I think it's the second one there. Although I thought maybe I read somewhere or someone said, because I don't remember exactly, that it actually isn't in the catalog. Neither of these are the right number, but I could be wrong. Someone I'm sure is watching that will tell us we're wrong.
Yeah,
it's 7048. It's it is a GP9 but it is a 7048 at a Horseshoe Curve.
Well, if it's not in the catalog, I smell a potential custom run being done with that.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
It's funny how we're getting like numbers close to it. Like even in Conrail, like we got Conrail 7020, Conrail 7043. So it's like we're getting numbers close to it.
Yeah. Well, I can already tell Dakman Productions and Secondhand Overland were already like, yep, I'm going to see if I can get this.
Hey, Sean, we got some Conrail for you.
So,
classic Givos.
Yeah. Yeah. So the funny thing is with the ES44s in this catalog, I actually counted all the dummies, super bass, and then the powered ones. There's 35 different ES44 models in this catalog.
That is a shocker. That's a shocker within itself because there have been times in some recent catalogs where we've got a high number of a specific locomotive. I don't think it was to this degree. Like I've never seen Lionel market this many of a prototype before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and you know there's going to be custom runs of it too. But I think
Yep.
really it's a diesel, and legacy diesels are on average much more affordable and also much
Yeah.
more uh, flexible in terms of layout size. So
I
you know
dig.
you're going to see a ton here.
I dig the Central of Georgia unit. Oh yes. I will take the BNO. I will take
Yeah,
the
this one, I gotta say, I know we've been kind of throwing Lionel's colors under the bus. I'll be honest, the same can't be said for these. These actually turned out really solid.
Yeah, the colors, the CSX and 3 blue could be toned down just a little bit, but that aside, I'm looking at the heritage portions, and
Seaboard
they're pretty
System
well
One,
accurate.
Seaboard
Um,
System One has my attention. In my opinion, of all of the five that are up here, the Seaboard System One looks the best because that color actually blends a little better than all the other ones, including the Baltimore, Ohio one, simply
mhm.
because the fact that CSX did have a lot of gray, at least in their history, in terms of their paint scheme. So to be able to kind of transition back a little bit. Although, of course, I'm not going to go too deep in terms of how I feel about the CS6 Heritage units. I think that they should have done the past in the front and then the present and the present in the back. Like have the Seaboard system in the front and then transition to CS6 in the back. But that's my 2 cents on these. But overall, I mean, these look real fantastic. Is it something I could potentially get? Absolutely. Is it like at the top of my list? Not really.
I will say, looking at that Seaboard System unit, I was just looking at it closely. It almost looks like a YN2 unit.
Hmm. Yeah, it kind of does. Speaking of one particular engine that I was a little familiar with, so if anybody that grew up watching I Love Toy Trains knows, that's Buster from the 5th episode. So they got
Yup.
801, and then they've got the correct 802 model. So
You know what they
that
should have?
probably
You know what they should have done? They should have included. They should have included the shed to go over the engine, because I remember that one shot where he rams into the shed, and then you just see the shot of the shed just moving along the track. You're like, what the heck?
So I want to address something with both of you guys. So I was watching Madge Trains and Gold Standard Trains live review yesterday, and they mentioned something about the extended dual control stand cab. So my question is, was that so that way they can run them long hood forward, or what was the intention of that?
um, I don't know how many railroads did this. I know Southern Railway had this, and I'm willing to bet N&W did as well. Um, I know on engines like their SD40s and SD40-2s, inside the cabs there was two control stands. Of course, on like Southern's SD40s and 40-2s, long hood was forward, but
Mm-hmm.
I think they did it to where they made the dual control stands, so then you didn't have to worry about turning engines, or the engineer was not in such a weird position where he's technically looking behind him, and he's looking behind him, and his controls are now behind him. So then he's still facing forward, and his controls are still within reach.
Yeah.
There was an operation. It was for operational reasons. I dig the SP, and I love the fact that they did the SP with they basically did it in the late phase where the light packages have been removed and the mounts were plated over.
Yeah. So
There's a lot more road name specific. Like I don't know all the specific details to each road name for these, but I've been reading like in the Matt or I think the miniature model Discord and other places that they've done a much better job this time around with details that are specific to each of these road names. So again, kudos there to that fact.
yeah, I agree. I will give Lionel a lot more credit that they've gotten better attention to, at least gotten better with the small details attention, because I think that's actually going to make up for some of the potential shortcomings. Like maybe the color may not be wrong, or maybe it's missing a detail. But if you go like the specific route, like with what they did with like the Frisco 1630, like they went the extra mile and they put the sounds on them. Those little things are what, in my opinion, is going to help Lionel in the long haul.
Well, and not just Lionel, but like O gauge in general, right? Like if you go look at HO or N gauge, you get a lot, especially HO, just because you're still able to model quite a bit of detail because it's not quite so small as N. You get so many road name specific details and engines and runs and all of that. So, O gauge does have to step it up in that regard, right? Like the model is big enough to be modeling that detail. The price point is, reality is like it needs to be having that kind of detail. Otherwise, it's and the sounds wise, right? Like the sounds really do need to be quality, right? Because HO has sounds now too. Now, obviously, you're never going to get the same quality because it's a smaller speaker and everything. But if O gauge doesn't step it up, like not just Lionel, but Atlas and MTH, etc., and anyone else, like people are going to leave the scale for HO potentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and speaking of things that have stepped up here,
yeah, these I'm ecstatic about. When I came across, and like I'm a Milwaukee fan, right?
Yeah.
So when I came across these and I saw the optional fixed pilot, I was just like, great, like finally we're there. Because like you look, I mean, and I think it was what the ES44 is the one that Chris RBP had like his custom run for.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
They don't have fixed pilots, but it's like semi-fixed, right? It doesn't it doesn't move as much as like it's not directly connected to the truck like it was in the past.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
I remember I don't remember what it was called. I know what it is, but I just can't remember what the specific term is. Southern Railway. I like the General Motors set that is marked for Seaboard. See, that one has got piqued my interest. Now I'm looking at this. Is that the sides of the A unit and that super base B unit? Is that clear? Like, is that actually
Yes.
looking
Yeah.
at the side
Yes.
model?
So if you look right here, so that was actually what they did at the 1939's World Fair, and then paying tribute to the locomotives displayed at the 39 and 40 World's Fair. Like the prototype, these models will feature clear body panels to provide view to the internal components. And you have to remember, too, the FT just debuted, at least in terms of the trial runs. And so the diesels still were in their infancy, at least in terms of, breaking out and, starting to become a household name and, replacing the steam locomotives. And so I think what they did was they wanted to show the internals to show, hey, this is how we're different compared to a steam locomotive. Because, a lot of countries were coming out of the Great Depression, and diesel technology was taking off. I think all of that's why they probably went the route that they did. Now, I know that some of our Seaboard buddies are a fan of the fact that, hey, it's promoting the Seaboard. And, they did really good on the paint schemes here. I know I've got a lot of Southern Railway buddies that went ooga booga when the Southern E6s were released out. They look gorgeous on them.
Yeah, I dig these sixes. I'd say the two sets that really speak to me is the B&O and that Capital Limited scheme, and of course the Seaboard set.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee's where it's at for me. They're definitely at the top there for me, and I may even consider the super base because I do find the super bases are pretty impressive actually.
And that's one thing too is that if you get the Hiawatha passenger cars, and if you get the Hiawatha, you can alternate between the two.
Yep.
Yeah, well, you're talking to a guy that may or may not have 30 plus Hiawatha passenger cars.
I'm sorry, what?
yeah. In terms of Milwaukee passenger cars, let me tell you something. I may have one too many, or a few too many.
See, Rock Island
too is that a lot of Milwaukee Road passenger cars actually survived, or there's a lot of them in the Milwaukee Road paint scheme because a lot of their stuff I think was acquired by Amtrak when Amtrak took over.
I think so. See, Rock Island. I'm not a big fan of Rock Island, but I do like how Lionel has done like 3 different schemes of the Rock Island.
Oh, absolutely. So I like the passenger cars too. Just wish that they weren't so expensive.
I kind of wish they did more. I now because I don't know if these are like Rock Island specific cars
They
on
are.
the auction. Oh, they are. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But say like if they weren't, like it would have been cool if Lionel did some other road names, because if it's like a generic style car, like yeah, you could really market a lot of road names, so then people can get them as filler cars or just have a set of cars for any specific engine. This is aside from the C46, this really got my attention.
Okay. This is probably going to get me some criticism for this. I think Lionel missed a huge opportunity with this. They've got the E5, but you don't have it as 9911. Now, granted, I know 9911 didn't technically have more or less a B unit with it when it was pulling the Nebraska Zephyr, but we just did the 630 last year. Why not go for the other superstar at IRM, which was 9911? But overall, these look gorgeous. I'm in the same boat with you, though.
I think I do see where you're coming from on this, but I think this because even though it is they're marketing it as an E6. In reality, this is meant to represent the E5s, because the Burlington was the only railroad to ever roster E5s. But because it's I think really cosmetically the only difference between an E5 and an E6 was the corrugated lower paneling. And because the previous 2 pages we had E6 sets, I think okay, we've done so many E6 sets. We'll do one more for Burlington Zephyr, but I do think this is kind of a hint that they may actually wind up doing 9911, aka Silver Pilot, with the matching set of articulated passenger cars. That actually could be grounds for a premium set. And do I think Lionel will do it? Supply and demand, but I think there's a chance
it would sell.
They're going to offer it.
Absolutely sell.
Oh yeah, because the only two companies I can think of that did it would be Sunset and Weaver.
Because let's be honest here, when I think of IRM, the first thing I think of is the Nebraska Zephyr, and then 1630 right afterwards.
In terms of Steam, 1630 is their Steam poster boy. In terms of their diesel collection, 9911 is their poster boy for the diesel roster. So,
I'm just talking about overall, like when you combine the electric, the steam, and the diesel. I mean, because Electroliner, Little Joe, 1630, and 9911 are basically your mascots for each, like the streetcars, electric locomotives, and all of that. So,
agreed.
Yeah. So, all right, now we come to Adam's favorite section. Adam, do you want to explain why you're excited about the U.S. Air Force locomotive?
Okay, so if it isn't already obvious, I am serving in the Air Force. I'm active duty, and I was shocked to see 2021, aka Titan, being listed in the catalog. And I'm looking at I consulted prototype photos, and I'm comparing it to the render, and it is just about dead on. There's only I'd say if there's only 2 things that stick out, and one is I think 2021 is the 2021 actually has, I think, a spark arrestor on the stack, and the strobe light is in the wrong spot. But that aside, because or actually no, it does have the spark. It does have the filter arrestor on it. I actually didn't see that. Okay, so disregard the filter arrestor. The strobe light on the render is in the wrong spot. Is it a deal breaker for me? No, it is 3-rail. That's what I call a 3-railism. But just the fact that they're doing 2021 and it is like 95% correct, it's like, yes, give me. I will pre-order it. financial recovery was never an option.
Financial recovery is never a thing with O-Gauge. It's like you go for it or you don't do it at all.
Go big or go home.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely true.
But aside from the U.S. Air Force unit, I do like the selection they have brought forth. You know, they're not doing as many of your what I say are overdone road names. We're actually getting a healthy mix of road names that either have not been done before or we haven't seen in a while, or we haven't seen them done on switchers like this, like the Reading and Northern unit.
That I would say, like I have noticed too, is that we have seen a lot more niche railroads or railroads that really haven't gotten a whole lot of love from Lionel, and suddenly they're getting a lot more attention.
Yeah, excluding the 2021, the two road names that immediately stick out, because I don't even know if Lionel ever had even done these on switchers, is the Reading and Northern 800 and that Texas and Pacific unit. Those two stick out for me. I could be wrong. For all I know, maybe they did do a TNP unit a few years ago along with the Reading and Northern unit, but I haven't seen it. So that's my only defense.
Ooh, now these had my attention.
It's been quite some time since we've seen some U-boats. In fact, I think the last time we seen some U-boats were I think they were, what were they, the U-30Cs?
Mm-hmm. How about just the fact that if for me it feels like this catalog has been a lot more diesel focused and then steam focused, at least this go around, which is actually a little nice change of pace, just because I felt like we've been absolutely spoiled the last couple of catalogs with some really, really nice steam lined up, but diesel wise have been a little more lackluster compared to the steam. So to be able to see a variety of switchers, passenger locomotives, modern locomotives, and then kind of like your second generation kind of locomotives here.
I'm digging that.
I'm okay with that. I as a steam person mostly, I have no problem with having a break, unless steam saves me.
The LNN looks good. If I had the money, I would probably get an LNN. But if I could only choose one on both these pages, I would actually go for the Seaboard system, which would probably surprise a lot of folks, because a lot of people know I'm also a big fan of SP. Like, the moment you throw in that Seaboard system in the ring, like, yeah, I'm going to take that over the SP. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I do like how it has an ACI label on it.
Mm-hmm. So, Fast Freight Legacy. Nice to see 779 being represented, and I'm curious as to what they mean by fixed pilots, because when I saw that, I was like, is it referring to the Berkshire or is it referring to the freight cars?
I don't know. I have to go back and
scroll in on that. You might want to scroll in and start checking out features to see Legacy. Let's see that. Or actually, I think the engine features are on the other page.
Just so you guys are aware, if you guys hear a train in the background, I think I've got the local getting ready to go by.
There you go.
Hot box.
Yeah, that's something I didn't notice until just now. Hot box reefer.
2,500, not bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there it goes.
So, Atomic Energy Commission. This is nice. Although, I actually got into a good talk with one of my buddies on Instagram, and he made a comment about, would it have been better as a Lion Chief Plus 2.0 set than it would have been a Legacy set, given the fact that it's got a lot of more or less fun features about it. Would it have been better to have it be a Lion Chief 2.0 so that we can have a lower price, which in turn allow it to have a larger audience it can go with.
Agreed.
Yeah. Although, I guess my only question is, like, in this set, in terms of Legacy versus Lion Chief, what would the price difference actually wind up being, right? Like,
Yeah.
would it be that big a difference? Because really the biggest cost here is probably the engine.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, if
and
you
it,
took about 200, 250 off of it, I mean, now you've got about $750
yeah,
set. And then, of course, you go to like a Train World or a Charles Rowe, and you could probably get for like 650, 600 ish. And suddenly now you have a wider audience right there.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely true.
Mm.
Yeah, I apologize, guys. I gotta go get my kids to bed.
Yeah.
But it was great doing this review with you guys so far.
Yeah. No worries.
Love doing it.
Yeah. Thanks for being able to join us, Derek. Adam and I will keep on rolling here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks
All
all.
right.
Take care. Have a
Yeah,
good
man.
night.
Catch you later, man.
All right, here. So now this one, Adam, this one was one that was a nice surprise.
Indeed. This is actually, and of course, I'm speaking as though if I, on the grounds I had the money to purchase this, I don't model the Illinois Central, but I would actually make an exception for this because it's it's the city of Miami, which is a Florida name, so it's like this does pique my interest.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Who did I see? Oh wait, never mind. I actually just found the answer to my own question here. So Central and Georgia ACL and Florida East Coast. So
yeah. Now, the I think this was another joint train, but
mhm.
I think the joint running in this case was more along the lines of train, like who's towing the train on each other's lines. Like for example, the Southern Crescent, like when it was coming, I think from New York, when it would depart New York and start heading south, Pennsylvania was in charge. Then I think when it got to DC, Southern Railway then took charge, and then when it got to I think Alabama, Atlanta and West Point took over, and then I think I can't remember what was the next stop, and I think the LNN would take the final stretch. So I think this was another. I think the city of Miami was run just like that because
Yeah.
in order to get to Miami, at that point you are now traversing over FEC rail.
Yeah. I'm curious as to when they say new tooling, which one got new tooling? Was it the passenger cars or was it the locomotive? I'm suspecting it's the passenger cars, judging by at least the where they have it here. And Jim Game, the Train Man, said Lionel should have done a beautiful, better rendering of this because it's a beautiful engine. I 100% agree.
Yeah, this is not exactly the best rendering. I'm not entirely sure because this is what is that? An E6? What is this? An E6?
Yes.
Okay, so it probably. I don't know. That's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to tell like what new.
Yeah,
What
David
new
Anderson Train says it's the passenger cars are the new tooling. So yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, I was about to say because I'm looking, even though it's just a render, I'm looking at the engine. I'm like, I don't think the city of Miami E6s had any special details or modifications. Like I think it's just the paint that made it that really made it unique. Now, something I've started to notice on like that E6 as well as prior the E6s we had already viewed is how Lionel is really pushing for fixed pilots, and I really like how they're pushing for fixed pilots, especially on their full width cow body units.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Kristen Record said, "Hey guys, how's it going? We're going good here. Appreciate you all for riding along here, and even with the little technical difficulties. So I'm going to skip a couple of pages here. So I'm going to go to the more important. Although I did want to swing by this here, the Legacy hot boxes.
It's funny. So some quick backstory here. About a week or so ago, while Larkin and I were actually talking about doing this catalog review, we went back to our discussion on some things that Lionel should do, or what we think would be cool if Lionel did. And I had actually mentioned how it would be pretty cool if they did a freight car that smoke or it had a light to simulate the hot box. Boom, here we go. We actually have them, and I had no idea these would be coming out.
My only thing is, I wish that they had like the MTH kind of smoked, where it produced a lot of smoke.
Yeah, I do like the Strasbourg reefer in that bottom right corner.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. So let's move forward here. So we're gonna stop by my buddy Secondhand Overland's favorites.
So yeah, Cody's Trains and Jazz said that they did the hotbox cars about 20 years ago in semi-scale. I actually never, I don't think I ever saw those.
Yeah.
But then again,
Gold,
these.
Gold
when I
Standard
mentioned,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, when I mentioned the idea, I didn't say at the time. I didn't say it, and I didn't say it here. When I said like Lionel should do like a hotbox style car, I was actually referring to full 1/48 scale, which is what those reefers are.
Yep.
So still cool to know that Lionel actually did do that concept once before. So now that's something they're revisiting. I dig the Chessie box car. I want that Chessie box car.
The IC one looks nice. RF&P. Speaking of a railroad that's gotten a lot more love lately.
Yes, indeed.
But let's move forward. The tank cars are nice. Trailer on flat cars look nice.
A big man would probably be all over those for his trailer jet.
Hoppers.
Now, those two Winchester and Western cars, those two were the talk of the shop because, to those that don't know, I'm actually I'm a repair tech for the Train Doctor of Tinson Falls, New Jersey, and we did a custom run of the MTH Winchester and Western GP9s. Then we see these Winchester and Western hoppers, and I believe the owner's actually, I think he's going to put in an order for both those cars. Since we did the custom run of the GP9s, it's only right we get cars to then essentially go with the engines.
Yeah, there's actually a few people in the comments that are saying that they're looking to get those too. I know David Anderson Train said Winchester and Western on order. So I'm gonna.
Who said that?
At least on the Instagram, the Winchester and Western on order came from David Anderson Trains.
Oh yeah.
So let's go forward. So the cabooses are nice. Get more Strasbourg love, and I like that they're doing the Lionel Lines one. So
I very much approve of the Lionel lines. I like the look of that. Now Western Pacific caboose, I really dig that, and if I can find one, I might actually get one. Since I have my GS64 and my 482.
Yeah, just don't tell my buddy Wipeout Trains that you have all that stuff because he's Mr. Western Pacific in social media.
A little late to the party, don't you think? See, looking at freight cars, I like that Central of Georgia car. The Norfolk Southern one, which of course that's the original Norfolk Southern. That one doesn't look. That one looks pretty good too.
Yeah.
I also like that Western Pacific reefer.
Mm-hmm. So old school.
I like
some
I
modern
like all those cars.
The ADM hopper is familiar for me.
Yep. The white tanker really the white tanker really hits home for me. Seeing the white tankers on the unit ethanol trains.
All right, so I know I initially said I wasn't going to talk a whole lot about traditional and the other stuff. However, there's no way I could ignore this. The fact that we've got a post-war icon that we haven't seen in decades. I would probably say it's not been seen since I think at least the mid 50s, at least that particular model. So
Yeah,
so
it's funny.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So for time reasons, I'm gonna skim by some of this stuff. Although I do like these. These actually came out really nice here.
Yeah, I do like how they're doing the Metro North Conrail Heritage unit.
Mm-hmm. I know my
See,
buddy Ray from Ray's Trains went ooga booga over the Metro North and the Conrail units. So Doodlebugs look nice.
There's a B&O one, which we both know someone who would go ooga booga for the B&O one.
How about the fact that we've got East Broad Chop also represented? Granted, it's in standard gauge.
Oh shoot! I didn't even notice that they did EBTM one. Let's see, GM&O Rock Island. I like that. I'm sorry, but I like that B&O one.
Frozen.
No,
let go and just go past it. John Deere.
If it ain't red, leave it in the shed.
Okay, here it is.
Here we go.
So that it's not the original tooling for the 675, which for those that, if it looks a little familiar, it's basically right when the post-war began, they had a 262, which later became a 264. That was basically a representation of the K4 Pacifics.
Yes. In fact, I'm looking. I decided to do some research on this. I'm trying to look up when they actually came out.
I think it was either 47 or 48. So someone's probably going to say in the comments of if we don't have it right.
Yeah, but the 675, when I saw that they're doing 675, it caught my attention because that's one of those post-war engines that it didn't even get carried over into MPC or modern day. Like it has.
There was a DC. Yeah, there was some DC models that had, but it was, no pun intended, a shell of its former self.
Yeah, but the fact we're actually getting a 675 that is purely a re-release of the original. It's like it's a very welcoming sight.
And someone actually made a comment too. That was the correct set when the original one came out. Like it had Pennsylvania gondola, it had the tank car, and it had the correct Pennsylvania caboose. Now, obviously, it's up to date with the 2024 tooling, but for the most part, too, that was a goes back to what I was saying. That's the little details that it's going to help Lionel get far.
Now, it'll probably say it in like the set features or what have you. But I actually do have one question because I didn't look into this when I was looking at the catalog of the shop earlier. The engine and the tender, are they die cast like the original? Because I would actually hate to hear that these would not be made in die cast. Like, no, because this is one of those
tender I'd be okay with if it's not die cast, just because the traditional line, especially the regular line chief line, usually the tender is not die cast. But
also
I'm okay with
it. Well, I mean, there was plenty of Lionel post-war engines that utilized plastic tenders. I'd say, like, what's the bare minimum that has to, like, what's the minimum for something to be die-cast, like the engine shell? Because you want that engine to be able to haul.
Yeah. But, I mean, I love the fact that they're going with the original disc drivers as opposed to the later spoke drivers.
Oh, man, that is such a welcoming sight.
Now, this is very welcoming right here, seeing the K5 design in Pennsylvania. So I made a comment that, we haven't seen any Pennsy Steam for the first time in 4 catalogs, and you can make the argument that technically we have. But, nothing really special to the 242s, but woo, that is gorgeous.
Classic Lionel tooling.
Absolutely. Now, you were wanting to say something?
if I was, I lost my train of thought. Who am I kidding? It left me at the station. FTs. Hey, there's another Texas special for you, Larkin.
Although it would look a little out of place next to my post-war celebration one.
There's that Chessie Speeder. I think. Why do I have a feeling that Matt would actually go after that Chessie Speeder?
Because it would actually go through his curves without any issues.
Why do I think you just attacked him? We're about to get an onslaught of comments from him.
This might be a tough catalog for our buddy Big Matt.
Yeah, because there's I mean, there's not too much in the way of like B&O or Chessie, but there's still a selection. It's like he would really have to decide like, okay, what do I either save for or what do I buy now? Mm-hmm. He's got some options. This is my page right here. Yes.
Potter.
I love Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter. I love Harry Potter.
Yeah, and by the way, Cody's Trains and Jazz said the 675 was 1947. The original tender was plastic, but the boiler was die cast.
Which certainly lines up with the typical post-war tunes. Yeah, because I know the engine's like 773. Obviously, both the engine and the tender were die cast. Justice League.
Hey, hopefully these engines and DC stuff do better than the movies did.
Yeah. Zoom. That's not. Oh, never mind. That was something else. Angela Trotta. Oh, go figure. We're getting the 675 back, and then look what one of the boxcars is. It's of the 675.
Although I'm a little tickled because it's got the spoke drivers on there. However, no 675 ever had them, and the ones that did have them, they were a 264 when those were on the 2025 and 2035s. But hey, you know what? I'm not going to be super nitpicky about it. Also,
yeah,
it's a little inside joke between my buddy Adam and I. That beautiful Texas special in that Baltimore and Ohio unit.
Why? Out of everything you could have zoomed in on, you had to zoom in on that.
Okay, we need to address this. The Bob Ross sound box car.
Yes.
So the fact that we have a Bob Ross sound box car with inspiring Bob Ross sound quotes on a timed loop.
Just gonna put a little happy little bush in here in the corner. That'll just be a little secret. And we even have matching Bob Ross accessories.
Okay, the building makes sense. The water tower.
That's a little weird.
That'll be something that Cal Unit Productions may have a field day on. That's Mr. Rogers. Ford.
Yes. Okay, Lionel missed out on something here.
What's that?
Yeah, it's the box cars are nice, but you know what they should have marketed to for this?
Who?
The trolley.
Oh yeah.
I don't care. I wouldn't have cared if it was just the standard, bumper trolley. They should have done a trolley. I mean, it's like, yeah, it was an open frame trolley. It was like, doesn't matter. Like, if they did a trolley, I think a lot of us would have been content with it.
All right, here. So for those that
Western Pacific.
So I'm gonna fast forward to. We gotta go to Dr. Acula's. I'm a little tickled the fact that the Halloween now is getting a lot more attention. That barn may actually be a good seller. I feel like that one's got some success on that. All right, and here's, you know what, Kristen? That's a good question. Why they didn't make the trolley? That's a good question. So here's why I wanted to speed by. Let's address
Yeah.
the big one, and that's this.
I'm sure there's going to be some people who are going to say, who may wind up saying I'm a naysayer about this, but I feel underwhelmed about some of the offerings for the Polar Express 20th anniversary. Because
I do love the new tooling on the observation car. It's nice that they finally addressed it after what, like 10 years of doing the scale versions.
Yeah, but I don't know. I kind of feel like this set, it feels more like just a standard Polar Express set rather than being a 20th anniversary set.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not.
Although I like that one better than the blue one because that looks like Polar Express went on a date with the blue comets, and then decided it liked its color to where it...
Blue Polar Comet Express.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, my wife was like, that blue does not look good on it.
It doesn't. I mean, I think in terms of matching with the cars, like,
I mean,
maybe.
One thing I will say is that I do like how the passenger car, the first one, has a smooth transition.
Has that transition. Yeah,
it doesn't look completely out of place.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I see Ben Strains is in the group chat. Hey Ben.
Oh,
but
CWF Train says we need to discuss Barbie. Oh my God, what the heck? What the heck is wrong with you? No, no,
Yeah, Ben said I need to see the blue in person first. Y'all really forgot about my complaint about the blue Polar Express. Oh no. Oh, trust me. Yeah, the blue one I have mixed feelings on, and I'm probably being generous. The red one I don't have a negative opinion on. Someone made a really good point in at least the M&M podcast. I feel like that there was a missed opportunity for them to, since they're trying to go more detail oriented. I would have loved to have seen the front be the correct single nose.
Basically like make it like while basically make the smoke box look more like an Erie locomotive with an inset headlight. For me, for anyone curious as to why I feel underwhelmed about some of the offerings for the 20th anniversary of the Polar Express, is the paint schemes just don't feel 20th anniversary. Like I know some time ago, if I'm not mistaken, Lionel did a golden Polar Express, and I like what they did with that. And for this, I think it would have been nice if they did, even if it was just a separate sail engine. They didn't do it as a premium set. They just did a standalone locomotive that was like they did it like their Chrome 284, where they did another Chrome style 284,
like a platinum kind of color.
Yeah, something like that. They did like a silver platinum or Chrome 284. But it's obvious, but it's done for Polar Express. That, in my from my view, that would have made more sense.
Yeah, and quoting Ben and Ben's Trains, you want to get them now. If you want to get Polar Express, get it now, because it's no secret they are a pain in the butt to try and get on eBay, because people like to price gouge these to the moon.
Yes, 100%.
But okay, I have to applaud this here. I appreciate them going and making the scale correct observation. Although the coupler just, it feels a little weird for me.
Yeah. But another thing too is Lionel. Even though there's been a lot of cars in the past that have been Katie compatible, that seems to be a new ongoing trend, is how a lot of the newer stuff, they're making both the engines and the rolling stock easily compatible with Katie couplers. You just take the 3-rail couplers off, or the electrocoupler's off, and you have a mounting pad for a KD coupler. So that I think that's what Lionel was going for there when they did the new tooling for the observation.
Yeah.
That they still wanted to utilize the KD mounting pad.
Oh, absolutely. Alfonso says this will be my first pre-order, and I think it will be the first of many. Hey, it's going to be cheaper to pre-order the Polar Express than it will be to buy it because these things will sell.
I love the Polar Express, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things like, am I going to skip out on this pre-order? Yeah, because it's not one of those things that I really desperately want. Like, so far, the only thing in this catalog that has made me consider doing a pre-order is for that U.S. Air Force 2021.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's not other things in here that pique my interest. I have to be.
This I
have
like.
to weigh my options. That's okay. That's actually cute. That's cute.
I agree. Doodlebug looks nice. I do applaud that all the diesels, or at least all the non-steamers, have snow on them.
Yeah, that was that's a new thing.
So
that's pretty cool. They're doing Mickey Mouse style Polar Express hand cars.
I think with the fact that that it's been shown that hey, these hand cars are successful, makes sense for them to try with some of their other IPs. Cough cough Polar Express.
Yeah. Oh, wait, go back real quick. I saw something. They're down at the very bottom. They're doing the Polar Express Ice Fast Track set, or 36 curve 4-pack. Wait. Oh, okay. So I see why they did it like that. It's basically just 36 curves, but it has that little mat.
What I'd love for them to do is that like you have one of the curves have like that you run it over like the Lion Chief one, and then it triggers like an audio inside the locomotive. So left, right.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Okay,
So.
okay. Now we're still into the Polar Express. Now we're transferring into both the American Flyer S gauge as well as the HO lineup.
So we need to address this.
I did not see.
And
okay, review's over. Cut the stream. We're done.
But the reindeer road, I actually like what they've done with the trucks on these. So someone's probably going to say they look hideous. I beg.
Hold on, zoom in on that rear truck. Why is the third rail pickup in between the center and outside rail?
Oh my gosh, I just now noticed that too.
I'm sorry, but to the person who does the catalog layouts,
missed opportunity.
The Reindeer Road. That's a good play on Milwaukee Road.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't say I'm a fan of the paint scheme. It's a good joke though. It's a good joke.
Okay, now this set right here is anything but a joke.
No, in fact, this is actually giving me some Strasbourg vibes.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of that Bachmann starter set that had like a 060 starter, had a box car, had the gondola, and then it had the passenger car at the end. This reminds me a lot of that. I'll be honest, I thought I first saw the catalog, at least when I saw it for the first time, I thought, oh, the Reindeer Road's cute. And then I saw this one, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this one looks like they actually took some time on this.
Yeah. I'm liking the joke on that that flat car with the pup trailers.
Oh, Dear Dash.
I was looking at that. I was like, Dear Dash. Oh, I get the joke.
So hey Bobby, if you are on here, hey, here's your future Christmas gift. So it's a kind of a running joke between him and I, and he's not a big fan of eggnog.
I love eggnog.
But $1,200 for all of that, when in reality it's like $1,000, and then you get a nice wooden car, You get a legacy steamer. I'll be honest,
That's actually a good deal because most legacy steamers, or especially your bigger ones, usually are around that $1,100, $1,200, $1,300 price tag. Here, you're getting it's a small steam engine, but I'd say it's your average, moderate size steam engine, two detailed cars, a nice open end combine,
yeah.
and the engine's got legacy features. The car's got interior lighting and interior
And the milk
detail.
cars themselves, they've got a lot of detail on them. So like these aren't like your like toy like milk cars. Like no, these are just below vision line.
Yeah, this is a premium. I mean, it's obvious this is a premium set, but I think this set actually, for what's included in terms of features and detail, I think this is a good buy.
Yeah. The only drawback is that, would this be something that you would want to run outside of Christmas time? Now, for me, I say heck yes, but I know some people on Instagram are like, I only run this during such and such time frame.
Yeah, for me, I would run this like the moment it starts getting cold outside. I don't care if it's even October. It starts getting cold outside. That train set's coming out
Oh, absolutely.
because the feeling's gonna warrant bringing that set out. So yeah,
Yeah. But
that's a set in my opinion. That's a good buy for what you're
oh,
getting. For what you're getting, it's a good buy. Now this kind of perplexes me. You got an FT for years on end, even starting in the early 2000s when the FT was a new 027 tooling. We had this though the corrugated 027 cars, which believe it or not, actually were the same as MTHs. Here, I think what are these? The 2400 series car? No, I could be wrong.
yeah. They went with the old school, smaller size ones.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean, yeah, cool to change it up, but you're using these cars behind that FT. Like, that's a little weird.
Yeah. Yeah, my buddy Caleb Eastern just came in. Hey Caleb, if you're still on, there you go, man. Here's your kind of car. He goes by Mr. Eggnog in our groups. But
oh, real quick.
Yes.
I just saw this icon. So actually go down to the bottom right corner.
This right here?
That plug expand play?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go, this is just my opinion. Everybody's got one. I don't really like it. You're alienating, I'm sorry, but you're actually alienating those who don't use fast track or actually would rather just wire their stuff into like another source of power. Like you're making this you're making this into like a one-way road. Like in order to utilize this accessory, you have to plug it into that fast track section, that has those plugs. Now, if you're wanting to experiment and find out how is this thing wired, I guess you could cut the plug and start tracing wires, but I'm not a fan. I don't like that whole concept of the plug.
Yeah, I have to agree with you a little bit on this because first of all, can we just take a moment to acknowledge that they've done really good with the kind of the humor references of like all the different brands like Reindeer Road, Deer Dash, and now SledX.
Yes.
But I agree with you. I mean, I get why you do the plug and play because it is a lot easier to set up. But on the flip side too, if someone wants to include that on there, especially for like a Christmas layout, and they're not going with fast track, I mean, you make a good point.
Yeah. Now this is something that we actually discussed in the shop because in the shop we have some of those plug and play accessories, and they're not a lot of those accessories are. I think we believe the marketing is more for like those that are just getting into the hobby, or are just trying to find easier ways to expand on their layouts without really the need of complicated wiring. But on the flip side, those of us who that know how to do wiring and all that, it's like, okay, this kind of like if we want to still incorporate something like this on our layout, we have to now look into seeing, is there a way we can actually remove that plug and start tracing wires, so then we find out this does this, this does that, and then we just wire it in. I think what would have been nice is if Lionel had designed a lot of these accessories, even if it was just a simple house with a light, if they designed it to where it's a double-ended plug, you have you have a plug that hooks into like the bottom or to the side of the accessory, and then you have the plug that goes into the track. Or if you rather just wire this into an existing layout, you have all the tabs to just hook up wires and then just hook them up to to your transformer or to an external power source, or to your power. Like basically, it's like there's two ways to hook it up.
So I'm gonna go ahead and fast forward just so that way we can get the time. Peppermint, sleigh bell. Oh, that's nice right there. So let's fast forward. Expand.
Yeah, see what
live Amtrak.
Accessories, yeah.
Yeah, and then I would say here this is pretty much a good stuff. Go ahead.
I was looking at this, I'm like, wait, what is? Oh, this is actually stuff from prior catalogs.
Yeah. So I'm tickled the fact that they still have some Russian decapods, and the Dreyfus ones doesn't surprise me, given the criticism about the colors. But hey, it's their loss and someone else's gain.
Yeah.
So really nothing really to say, at least about these here. So it's
this is I think I saw a glimpse of it, but I think I saw that Lionel weather balloon 2-pack. The thing that started out as an April Fool's joke, but people told Lionel like, no, we would buy this, and they're like, oh, we want this, let's do it.
So I think we'll wrap up here with at least with this one here. So I'm looking forward. I'm also curious as to how this will go.
Yeah, Larkin, you already know my standpoint on the base 3, and that I have mixed feelings about it. But I'll explain my case for the viewers. So, it's good to see that Lionel is coming out with another command base since we lost the 990 Legacy Cab 2 system, because they were discontinued in 2017. While I'm glad that they're doing something with a new command base, the thing that I don't like is how they're not designing a new remote like the Cab 2. Yes, as I can see, they are still doing remotes. They're doing Cab 1L. So it's like, yes, they are doing a remote, but it's not the same as a Cab 2. The Cab 2 is the ultimate remote because you have it's easier to access functions that way. Also, too, like I kind of have I have just a slight issue with how they're pushing to put everything on your phone, because like I'll explain, like in my case, like it makes it a little difficult for me because like if I'm trying to run a train, if I'm like running a train and I'm doing it by Bluetooth, like on the Lion Chief app, or in this case the Lionel Cab 3 app, it's going to be difficult for me to try and film that when it's like, okay, well, if I film it, it's just going to go run by. I can't do anything like station announcements, bell, whistle, can't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really wish Lionel would try to come out with a more advanced remote. That's something that's a bit more advanced than the Cab 1L. I'm not saying the Cab 1L is garbage. No, I'm definitely not saying that. I think the Cab 1L is actually pretty good remote. I do like how you can actually set it up to where you can actually still utilize the quilling whistle. You just have to configure the remote for that. but it's it still leaves a little bit to be desired. It's still it there's still a level of or actually let me rephrase that. It still doesn't compare to the 991 Cab 2 remote. That's what I'm getting at. So I'm also curious myself to see how this plays out, especially since it wasn't too long ago. I heard there was some Lionel was having some issues with not with the cab, but with this new base 3 actually not being able to link up with some of the most recent iPhones. I think it was. I heard they were having some kind of technical issues, but that aside, I am myself am curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. But well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and stop the sharing here. So overall, I mean, the kind of final thoughts here before we close out. Overall, what did you think of the catalog?
I really liked it. I think there's a lot of unique stuff this time around. I think the fact that Lionel is bringing back some stuff that we haven't seen in years, whether it be a few years or almost 20 years, i.e., the Hiawatha. It's a very welcome sight. The fact that they brought back the 675 after almost half a century now.
Yeah.
The fact that they're doing some roads that haven't gotten that much love or haven't gotten any love at all until now, it's a very welcome sight. I also just like how they've kind of turned the tables, because earlier you mentioned how I think the past 2, 3, maybe 4 catalogs were extremely steam heavy. This catalog is almost the polar opposite. It's more diesel heavy than it is steam heavy. So it's like it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there was still some really good diesels in all of those catalogs, and then there were some solid steamers, at least in this one. But it was very clear of which one was the focus on this particular catalog.
Yes. I'm also liking how, and I've already seen some signs of this in some prior catalogs, but I'm seeing signs like the fixed pilots. I'm really liking how the Lionel is making a push for that. Yeah, I like how they're really trying to do more with like fixed pilots. It's obvious they're trying to get away from that free swinging pilot, because it doesn't look the best. I'll be honest, it doesn't look the best, especially on F units or E units.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, I think it was a good catalog. As for what I'm going to potentially pre-order, that remains up in the air if I even get anything. But for me, I think the Hiawatha right now is kind of the more focused, at least the one that if I had to choose, the Hiawatha would be more ideal, because the Berkshires are certainly nice too, but I do think that they are going to be a lot more guaranteed that they will come back.
Yeah, because the 284s, the legacy 284s, even though it's been some time since we've last seen them, they are still a mainstay on the Lionel lineup. For me, is there anything in this catalog that I would certainly be getting? If it isn't already obvious, I'm going after that U.S. Air Force SW8. Just because even though I've never seen the actual locomotive, I'm very much familiar with 2021, aka Titan. So it's like the fact that Lionel is doing a model of that specific engine, which is that's the only U.S. Air Force SWA nicknamed Titans. Like, yeah, that is really darn cool. I definitely want that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to finish it up here. Adam, thank you so much for joining, and for everybody that watched the whole event. I thank you guys so much, and I hope to do another one of these soon. And until then, see you guys next time.
Catch y'all later.